This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
You never know who's a Star Wars fan. I'm Ava DuVernay, and I'm so pleased to welcome you to this day that we've been waiting for so long. So this these seats will be filled with the cast and the creators and all the people behind this wonderful final episode. So let's just jump in and get started. First up, C3PO, Anthony Daniels. What was the difference between your first day working on Rise of Skywalker and your first day working on Force Awakens? What happened in the middle? Were you more confident? Were you just as scared? What happened?
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. We're very lucky.
Thrilled to be here.
I think that the difference is that the pressures shifted. We didn't know at the beginning of Force Awakens exactly what it would look like to have Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver and Oscar Isaac, John Boyega. You know, what would that cast be like? And we had to figure it out and discover it. The first day of Rise of Skywalker, we sort of knew some of those things. We knew those things were working. What we didn't know was everything else. And this is wrapping up, not one film, not three films, but 9. And so the responsibility was significant, and the movie, I mean, this is a pretty big picture, and the scale of the movie is pretty enormous, and we knew that none of that would matter, none of it would work if you didn't care deeply and track with the people. So the most important thing, the people, we were good with. We knew we had this incredible cast who I think have gone above and beyond anyone's expectations and are truly spectacular in the film.
Yeah, they are. Their performances here, I really hope people pay attention to them. It's in this blockbuster rapping, but the performances here are so nuanced, so beautiful, so deeply felt. Really keep your eye on it. You'll all feel it as well. Just to continue to ask you though, this is not doesn't have a comic book to follow the story. There's no blueprint for this. This is coming out of you and Chris's head. And what you had talked about was, wrapping up 9 films. That's an awesome responsibility. So at the moment that you accept the invitation to do it, and it's the next day and you're home, and you're thinking, oh wow, I gotta end this thing. Just personally, as a longtime fan of it, what was your personal process to get there? Did ideas start to come immediately? Were you quiet for a while? Did you meditate?
Because we had worked on Force Awakens, Larry Kasdan and I and Michelle Rejwan and Kathy, producers, we had talked about quite a few things back in the day. So it was a bit of sort of picking up where we had left off. And the fact is that what Rian Johnson had done in Last Jedi, had set up some things that were sort of wonderful for the story. One of the things being that the cast was separated, the characters weren't together for the entire movie, essentially. So this was the first time that the group got to be together. When Chris and I got together, we knew immediately we wanted to, tell a story of an adventure. There were some very specific things that we were both drawn to immediately. And we just started doing the thing that you do, which is you say, what do you desperately want to see? What feels right? And then my job as the director was to make sure that all the pressures of all the obvious things, fan expectations and studio and all those practical and logistical issues as well, weren't brought to set. That on the set, we could have a sort of, a sort of buoyancy and a sense of sort of being spry. And while it was never quite an indie on the set of this movie, we needed to keep the thing feeling as human as possible. And not like some, a massive machine, which is part of it in the background, but nothing that creatively mattered to us.
Yeah, those moments when they come back together and they reunite, every time it happens, you just lift up. Because I realized, oh wow, they weren't together this whole time, so they're fantastic. Beautiful moments of levity and humanity. Kathleen, no one really knows or rarely discusses that you started as a camera operator for Monday Night Football. I think this is important. She was out there fighting for her shot. Who knew that? No, see? This face, he said, I knew this. So you're getting knocked around in the field. You're fighting for your shot. So this is my question. How in Star Wars, and working on it over 5 films, what did you learn from those days on the field back in the 70s that helped you work alongside this great filmmaker to make this one novel?
I think I learned that there's never a job too small.
Nice.
Because when you're doing that kind of work, you get involved in every single thing that's needed. And that's why, even when I'm standing on the set today, if I see a cable that's kind of crimped, and I think somebody might fret or whatever, it's very instinctual to me to start dressing the cables and looking at things like that. It's just kind of a part of me. And I think that was very much something that was instilled when I did that job.
Yes, I love imagining you doing that. That's my fun.
I will tell a story that I also, in addition to operating camera, I did what's called a parabolic microphone.
What is that?
And at the time, it was a dish that was about like naked. And you were the only person, and still today, you're the only person along with the photographer that could be right on the sideline. And your job is to pick up the noise on the bench, but also you need to be watching the play on the field. And I used to sit and watch football with my dad on weekends all the time, so I knew the game pretty well. And I saw this pass play starting to materialize. So when you do this job, if it's going to be a pass play, you need to start running. So I've got these cables on me, I've got this huge dish, and I'm running down the sideline. And I'm watching the pass. What I don't see is a Minnesota Viking linebacker who is running full speed toward me and takes me out at the ankles. And I am flying through the air like a miracle I didn't get killed. And I ended up on national television.
We need this footage.
That was my
Please. We have a lot of beautiful websites out here. Let's get this footage. Let's find it. Good one. So you're used to the nitty gritty. Well, before we move on though, why JJ?
Why JJ?
Why this guy?
I told this story during Force Awakens. I won't go into detail on this, but I met JJ actually along with a filmmaker by the name of Matt Reeves when they were 15. And they had won a contest for movies that they had made. And I said to Steven Spielberg, why don't we hire these two young guys to come in and take your home movies and clean them up and give them a break and see if we can't give them a start in the business. So, needless to say, for years, Steven and I watched JJ and his career just take off from that point. And when George Lucas asked me to step in and take over Lucasfilm, what I didn't know was that the company would be sold only months later. And when it was sold, there was an edict, so to speak, that we needed to make a movie in a fairly short amount of time. And the one thing I know about Star Wars, and the one thing I know about these kind of tentpole movies, is this unique combination of needing dramatic storytelling, gravitas, and a great sense of humor. And I think that there's few filmmakers that really embody both of those things and also have the capability to really manage something this huge. And JJ was my first choice. So that was an easy one.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Chris, when the initial call came in to co-write this screenplay, how long did the kid in you do somersaults before the writer and you started to hyperventilate? Because I don't even know how you approach something like this. You got your mic?
I have two now. Not long. You spent about 8 minutes doing something. I think it was on East 12th Street in Manhattan when I spoke to JJ. JJ had been calling and leaving messages, and I was in a screening. And I didn't have JJ's cell phone number in my cell phone, so it was sort of a random 310 number. And I thought, why is this random person in Los Angeles calling me? And finally I listened to the message, and I sort of hyperventilated a little, and I called back. And he said, hey, do you want to write episode 9 with me? Didn't say the word Star or Wars, just said episode 9. So for a good 8 minutes, I let myself sort of leap into the air, and then we realized, oh my God, we have to land this vehicle somehow. We have to land the biggest Star Destroyer in the world on this, on the head of a needle. And then we got to work. I live in New York, but I came out to LA, and JJ and I just started at Bad Robot. There's a room with these white boards, these blank white boards, and we just started writing dry erase marker on white boards, and then eventually the boards became a Word document that was 10 pages, and then 50 pages, and then 121 pages, and then that became the script.
I have to talk about the script, though. As a writer, this is just a mammoth undertaking. You have to finish 9. Is anyone out there? Do you hear what I'm saying? It's a finale of this whole thing. It's so beautifully done. The dialogue, the act breaks. I mean, the art of the script is, I have to applaud it. This is an epic feat that no one else wants to do. So I'm glad you all did it, and you did it well. It's fantastic. So thank you for that. I want to jump into some of our newbies before we go to the OGs, as we call it in Compton, where I'm from. So let's start with Keri Russell. Keri Russell, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? You play Zori Bliss, and I just have to tell you, love her. She's hot. She's badass. From the moment you see her, I just wanted to see more of her. She comes back later. We get it. I mean, she's everything, okay? She's a hit. All right, so I just want to let you know that. Even though I didn't know it was you for a long time. So I read the credits. But can you tell us a little bit about her? How did you approach her? And did the anonymity of being masked as an actor add something new for you to play with?
Definitely. No, JJ called me or emailed me and said, "Do you want to be in Star Wars?" And I was like, "Yeah." But then he told me about the idea about the mask, and yeah, I love the mask. I mean, that's my fantasy dream sequence, that I can see everyone in a super tough version of myself, costume, and no one can see me. That's my dream. It's a real power play in a way, because no one can really see what you're thinking, but you can see everyone else. But yeah, it was amazing. And the other thing, because we all just going to be able to see it last night.
Yeah, they all saw it last night, yeah.
The other thing that was just, I've known JJ for so long, and I just feel like we have a shorthand, and we speak the same language in a way, and I just feel like JJ got to finish a piece of history in a way by getting to do this. And it's just, he did such a great job.
He really did. He really did.
I was going to say one thing. Thank you for being so kind. Keri loved the mask so much that the first 2 days she worked as Zori, the entire 2 days, I never saw her face. She could have, like most people, taken the mask off between takes, or after a couple hours, or after the whole day. But she walked onto set in character with the mask on. Not even a character, with the mask on. And she was like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, you want to take that off?" She's like, "No." And she had it on the entire time, and then the next day the same thing. And I got to work with Keri for a couple days and never saw her.
You would be talking to me and say, "Can you take that off? It's freaking me out."
It is weird, because you're just looking at, you don't know.
You're like, "I know, it's awesome."
It is awesome. It is awesome. Another new character, Joonas. Naomi, welcome. How are you?
Good.
Hey, gotta get your bag here. This is a big thing to step into. You're, for any actor with tons of experience and a lot behind them, it's a lot to step into. Let alone someone who's newer to the scene.
Yeah.
So, Kim, did you just come in? I'm gonna walk on with just swagger, be fearless, or did you just, kind of? How did you prepare? Did you have a defining moment where you knew how you were going to approach this?
I felt like it was really through the physicality. Like I felt like Jana's strength was in her body. Like she's a very grounded character. So when I got to training, that's when I started to be like, okay, got this. Like being able to do pull-ups and horse riding, and then I guess with that came my confidence that I hadn't previously experienced, and then working with JJ and figuring out like what the balance was between strength of a character but also a vulnerable side. Someone with a heart, you don't always have to just be like strong and fierce, but you can also, sometimes vulnerability is strength at the same time. So kind of finding that balance was really interesting, and I feel like we found it by the end. I mean, literally, and also like, because we watched it yesterday, I'm not being funny, like I left it like my heart was beating so hard, and it's the most visually beautiful thing I've ever seen. It makes you feel like a child, and there was an element of feeling like a child on set that, it's like the whole cast allowed that to happen, and JJ was the one who allowed us to be here, so yeah, very, very cool.
Yes, well done. Well done. And you're right, it is visually stunning film. Kelly Marie Tran, you're back. What was the camaraderie like on set, getting the gang back together? Like I said, as you're watching it, it's just so heart expanding to see everyone in the same scenes together. What was it like actually doing it?
It was really wonderful. I think that from the last film, there seems to be such a bond between everyone, and then also the new guys. Like everyone just feels It sounds so cheesy and so cliche, and it is, but it truly feels like everyone's a family and we're all just there to have fun and be part of something that's so much bigger than us as individuals. And that's a really cool thing to share with people. So.
Your scenes, you were in large group scenes. You had individual scenes, but I remember you in scenes where there were just tons of other people and the resistance.
Yeah.
It's like all the costumes and it felt like these scenes denoted community, right? In the scenes within them, but they also were very closely connected to Keri. And so I want you to chat a little bit about, the feeling on the set around doing that work in your absence.
I think that was really, I think for myself, I can only speak for myself, there is sort of this idea that, JJ has talked about ending 9 films, and Keri was such a big part of all of that. So I think for me personally, there was a lot of wanting to honor this thing and do right by this thing. And I think that she's pretty effing incredible in this movie. So,
Yeah, there's a lot to see and to feel when she's present in the film. Thank you. Joonas, I really tried with the name when you came out. You gave me a full...
Good break.
But I think for the record, so that everyone has it on their cameras, say it the unbutchered way.
Sometimes
Not the American way, the real way. Yeah.
Joonas Suotamo.
One more time.
Joonas Suotamo.
Okay?
Pronounce every word in Finland. There's no Finnish has no silent letters. We don't silence our letters. Every letter counts. Joonas Suotamo.
Let's try. Let's say it.
Can I get a Joonas Suotamo?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Joonas Suotamo.
Come on, man.
Go on and spread the message. We've learned something today.
We did learn something today. Chewbacca. Why has he endured? Why do we love him? What are the qualities that endear him to us? You've thought about him more than the rest of us. What is it?
I mean, for that, we have to go back to 1977 or whatever, and when George found Peter Mayhew to play this character that was supposed to be, nobody knew what it was going to be, and it's that thing where you don't know going into these things how it's gonna look. And I think Chewbacca's endurance has to do with the fact that Peter's unique physicality that I sort of inherited and I try to bring on screen. He created this character that moves not quite like a human. It's very unique. The way Chewbacca appears on screen, and the way he's so that's what created the memorability of that character. And what people, even if they haven't seen Star Wars, they might know what Chewbacca is, and that's what I'm a custodian of, and that's what I've taken. And when Peter passed this last year, I was heartbroken. But I like to think that in this film, I attempted to do him justice, and while working with this incredible cast, I'm really happy that we're part of something that's so much bigger than ourselves, but that we still get to play and have fun, and for that I'm forever grateful to be a part of this.
Fantastic. That's beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yes.
And if my son is here, I'd like to say...
He knows what that means.
He does, yeah.
Yes, good. Okay. That's fantastic.
I think he's left to have a haircut, but yeah, he was here just now.
All right. So, Anthony Daniels, the great. Can we give him a round of applause? Immense respect to you, sir. You've been in all the Star Wars episodes. This is your final walk as C-3PO. It's been a joy to watch you through every film. So thank you for what you've given. It's
Thank
really
you for saying that,
fantastic.
and thanks to everybody who has kind of been fond of 3PO over the years. Some of you will be there.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
More than fun. We love him. Can you just sum up your journey as an actor? You've done something in these films that hasn't been duplicated, that no one else has done. You've touched every one of them. You've worked across all of the worlds, all of the planets, all of the ideas and the stories. I don't know how you'd start to summarize it, but maybe you can try.
Well, I just realized in the last few months something that I haven't ever got before. People, the questions I really don't like is, what was it like, or how does it feel to be in Star Wars? Well, I've only just realized that because I've been in all of them and all the spin-offs and stuff, I am so close to it. And I said it's rather like having your nose up against the planet. You can't see how big that planet is. And gradually now, I'm beginning to get a perspective on it. And that comes from talking to fans, to people who say what Star Wars has meant to them over the years. It's meant something completely different to me. It's a job. It's kind of fun. It's kind of awkward sometimes. It's as we all know, it's not a smooth ride. But finally, I'm getting to see it almost from the other perspective, and that's the perspective of the audience who've been there all this time. And I'm really glad to have survived all this long enough to get this perspective.
You've got a unique perspective that no one else has.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for all your giving. Richard E. Grant, your Twitter last night was epic. Your tweet was epic. You were on cloud nine after seeing this film. I'd just like you to talk a little bit about your reaction to the film for those who did not see. Can you get back to that moment and share with us what you felt?
I thought that Disney would sue me for...
You were very emotional.
Because I think that you're not supposed to say anything about it, but I didn't tweet any spoilers about it at all. But having seen it first when I was a theatre student when I was 20 years old, and before any of the young cast were even born, it's an extraordinarily emotional thing to see just the passing of time that goes through all of these movies. And it felt really like a compilation of everything that I read in the Bible, Greek mythology, the Wizard of Oz, all rolled into one in this extraordinary summation of the whole story that delivers an emotional wallop at the end that I was totally unprepared for. I was wiped out and I barely slept. So thank you very much for having me.
Check the tweet. It's awesome. And you're really good, bad guy. You're fantastic. Mr. Williams, I love your films. I have to read this part. I'm going to cry. I love your films. Your film, Lady Sings the Blues, was the first film I ever saw in my whole life. I was 6 weeks old. You have a famous line in that film. You want my arm to fall off. As you're giving Diana Ross the money for her song as Billie Holiday. My mom and her best friend were in the theater. I'm 6 weeks old. You say the line, you want my arm to fall off? They scream. I scream. I start crying. They have to leave the theater. They never finish me. Okay? This is how long I've loved you. I just want to let you know that. So thank you for all you
You want my arm to fall off?
So thank you for this part of Lando's story.
What's the matter? You don't like God, do you?
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
So your career is much bigger than movies for many people, and it is for me. And I just want to talk a little bit about Lando and how you approached it as an actor coming back to the part so many years later. Did you look at the previous films? Did you just use the script that was in front of you? What was your process as an actor to get back to him?
Getting back to what I'm doing now?
To Lando, yeah.
No.
Did you watch the old stuff?
No.
No. You just jumped right in?
Yeah.
You remembered him?
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole idea for me was I have a lot of admiration for this young man called Monsieur J.J. Abrams.
Yes.
And it was pretty much when I worked with George, that was an opportunity to work with somebody who was really extraordinary. And here again, I have an opportunity to work with somebody who's really extraordinary. Actually, we worked together when he was doing Lost. I played myself playing a killer, which I thought was a very interesting idea. And I thought, this guy is really crazy. But fabulously crazy. But anyway, this has been a great pleasure for me, coming back to Orlando. I didn't think that it would happen. I just wrote it off, you know. And I said, well, I did what I had to do, and that was it. But when I got the call from JJ, and then when we met, I just sat there and I just chuckled. You know, because I thought it was just a wonderful gift.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy human being right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah. That makes me emotional. That's wonderful. Never know what life's going to bring. So one of my favorite actors is up on this dais, and I feel like he can do anything. His name is Oscar Isaac. I don't know. I think he can do anything. I don't know. I just want to throw things out and see. But I won't do it now.
Are you ready to receive?
Maybe another time. Maybe another time. So in this, you
I'm looking for work now, so.
Are you? Thank you. You noted. Thank you. It all feels different in this to me. He's a bit. I think he was always supposed to be a bit of a swashbuckler, but he's like dropped into the swashbuckling thing in this. Like it's all you trip and swashbuckle. It's the pants.
And the knee-high boots, really. I think it's really Michael Kaplan, a little bit swashbuckling with this one.
It's really good. I mean, did you feel that you were kind of in pocket in this, that you found in a different way? What am I saying that feels different in this from the previous?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of always been a bit of a wild card energy and figuring out where he fits in the story, what story is being told. And I think with this one, you know, JJ and I talked a bit. I remember JJ being excited about kind of dirtying up the squeaky flyboy image that he's had for a bit, more of a personality. And I think that really comes out because I've been taken away from my little box in space, and you know, I get to join my friends this time. You really get to see the interaction of the three and the hope that I think that he, in particular, brings in this one. There's a kind of a relentless, almost aggressive optimism that he has, and how that is tested, and how he tries to be there for his friends, tries to push them along even when it seems quite hopeless. And then I think also the way that we approached shooting a lot of these scenes, there was a looseness to it. There was things shot in big, beautiful, choreographed takes that are just astounding to watch, where you follow one character walking through this maze of an amazing planet with all these stormtroopers and aliens, and you realize it's all this one amazing continuous take within us talking over each other. So it was that kind of trust that JJ kind of that allowed, I think, a real spark of vitality.
You have to look for these shots that JJ designed. And some of that stuff I was watching, I was like, how the heck did he do this? The blocking alone is nuts. I can't imagine how it was to actually have to do it. But part of this with you and John, I mean, John's like walking charisma, like charisma of legs. Like if you look at charisma in the dictionary, it's John of legs. It is. I have a different dictionary, special one. But the two of you have, it might be the greatest romance in...
It's juicy.
It's hot. It's good. But this connection, was it something that you all had to work at? Is it something that is contrived and you really don't like each other? Like how this clicking that we see on camera? John, can you speak a little bit to the relationship with...
I think it was natural since the...
Say what?
Yeah, like when Oscar first came in, there was some other actor that I read with, and the chemistry was blatant, and it was a natural vibe between me and Oscar. I don't even know why. I just like the guy. And I just
walked into my dressing room, and he was so sweet.
He's like, you want to run the scene for her? I was like, yeah. And it's like that in the dressing room, like butt to butt, and like ran the scene together.
Yeah.
And then from then on, we've been in that position.
It is what it is. It's just a good chemistry, and I think I felt most comfortable while auditioning doing the scenes where Poe was involved anyway, because I've always liked the guys in the film. I just like the boys. I love that element, and I was glad to find that in our relationship.
Yeah, it really comes through. It's beautiful. It's really fun to watch. Anything that you learned from this part that you were surprising to learn now that we're at the final episode when you first tackled it to now? A big lesson that he gave you when he talks to you in his head. And I'm not talking about JJ, I'm talking about Finn.
Oh, Finn.
Finn talks to you in his head, not when JJ talks to you here. What does he tell you?
I just like loyalty. Loyalty is something I find very, very important in my personal life. I think it's super important to be loyal and to understand the way in which people want to be loved and communicated with. It's like, proactive love is something that Finn does on a day-to-day basis. Throughout the film, a lot of the times Rey is going off on this really hard journey as a character blessed with so much power, and Finn tries to support her in that journey, and sometimes it's hard. And in my real life, if I try to get in contact with you 3-4 times and you're going off, I'm going to leave you alone. Finn's going to come for you and try and make it work regardless. That's some Jesus shit. Like I'm not built like that. So I guess over the years, I've learned more and more. I think in general, I'm a nice guy. But on the other sides, I'm not always nice, and I guess that consistency of niceness from Finn gives me questions in my head over the years. Yeah, sure.
That's good. That's interesting.
Finn is Jesus.
Finn is Jesus. Yes. But we want to be written. So Adam, you am I technically in the proper Star Wars, or if I don't just call him Kylo Ren, he's also Ben Solo, right? Like if I say Ben Solo, is that also accurate? Or no? Can he not be Ben Solo, or is he rejected Ben Solo and I should not use those words? Wow. It's really good.
Yes and no.
Okay, well, let me ask you, my question is, did in your performance of Kylo Ren, did you allow Ben Solo and who he was before to influence the way that you played Kylo? Or once you entered into Kylo Ren, were you in a completely different space? Did you bring his legacy and his heritage into the performance with you?
In this one?
Yes.
I think maybe subconsciously. I don't think it's when people are actively trying to deny a certain part of their lives, I think they can do it pretty successfully. And then it just turns into what is happening around them that brings it out in them. So I think maybe, but I don't think it's something that we actively talked about playing. But it definitely is a thought to have.
And since you...
I think that's a testament to the writing that from the beginning it was never someone, from the beginning it being called Force Awakens was intentional in that it was the Force Awakening for both sides, the light and the dark, and JJ, even in those first meetings, talking about someone who is unformed and not a, quintessential, in control, of his faculties, knows where he fits in which again is helpful for me as an actor because we were figuring out the same thing. It totally echoes what's going on in the story, especially in the first one, new cast figuring out where you fit, in a legacy that spans, so much time. So that was helpful, but I guess it's similar in that I guess it's a subconscious thought in playing it. I guess it's also a subconscious thought as me as an actor thinking about it.
Yeah. Makes sense. So Daisy, this is such an emotionally and physically demanding performance that you've given here. I just really hope that the blockbuster wrapping of this beautiful film does not obscure this performance. It's deep and beautiful, and you move me every time you're on screen. It's a credit to the writing and the craft, but also you just went there, so bravo to you. It's really, really fantastic. The scene that presented you with the greatest, the most rigorous demand, whether it's physical, because you're like very physical in this, as you always have been, but also just deeply emotional. Would you say the biggest demands were more physicality or the depth of some of the scenes emotionally? And which one?
It's a good question. Because, with the physical stuff, you train, and then the adrenaline helps you like on the day to like do the thing. But obviously the stamina needs to be there for you to continue to do the thing. But I would say I was more tired emotionally because there really wasn't a day where I was like, oh, it's just a quick scene. Coming from the last one, which was quite heavy, even the joyous scenes I found very strange to do. And then obviously there's a lot of other stuff that's going on. And it's also tricky because understanding what JJ was asking me, I feel like I know what you're asking, I just can't quite get there yet. So that was probably the most tricky thing, and sustaining that emotion. And there's more of a, I would say, like a singular intention that was tiring. Because as well, even in the emotional scenes, there's like physical containment that is tiring. So really I've not answered the question. Both things were hard.
What about the joyous scenes that created more of a multiple career?
It's just so strange because I've gone from, a film with a lot of being like, please be my friend Luke, and he's like, go away, and I'm like, no, please. And then, very emotional stuff with Andrew. So coming back was so great, but it would be so easy to just flow into it that then you're like, am I acting? Like, is this what is required? Because I'm basically bouncing after Oscar and John and Joonas and Anthony in such a joyous way that you just feel like you're having a chat with your pals. So it's not like difficult in like a raw way, but it's strange wondering how that general vibe is going to translate into a scene.
Sure. And how would JJ let you know that it was working or not working?
I could tell when it wasn't working because I'd look over and JJ would be like, and there would be some seconds and I'd be like, go on. And he'd come over and tell me what wasn't working. And I think I felt when it was working because you sort of, you're just like feeling the thing. So that's the when it's working, when you're like, oh god.
Try it. Right? Good work. I'll just finish up here and then I think I've got everyone. Yeah? One last question for JJ before I open it up. So for George, it was really important to him that these films mean something. That they aren't just, popcorn films. There's some universal truth to them. That something is being conveyed. That this is soul food. It's supposed to stick to your ribs. And he wanted to say something for the ones that he worked on. You're the only director that's done it more than once besides him. So in this final piece, I always hate getting this question, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, my friend. What does this mean, and what do you want to say to it?
That's a terrific question. I like to think that when you're working on something, especially something, and I say something like this as if these kind of things come along all the time, and they never do. I'm still grateful for that call from Kathy. The truth is that there's the movie that you're presenting to the world. And then there's the thing that you're doing, not necessarily secretly, but meaningfully. We live in a crazy world. We live in a crazy time. And Star Wars for me was about hope. And it was about community. It was about the underdog. And it was about bringing people together and seeing all oddballs represented and the most unlikely friends and the most unlikely places. And the family that you make is really your family, And so to tell a story that is, of course, a giant spectacle and a sort of, like you say, the blockbuster record. But the thing that mattered to me most more than all the spectacular, unbelievable, I would argue, best work ILM has ever done. All the departments going beyond their expectations. The thing that matters, I would say, most and only in the film is really the people who are sitting here, and what you're watching, and the eyes of the characters, and the heart of the characters. So for me, rather than give away sort of themes that Chris and I talked about doing, from the beginning, and what our specifics are, I would say that it really is about hope, and it's about coming back to a sense of possibility, about unity, and it's if Star Wars can't do that for us, I don't really care.
Amen to that. This is a dazzlingly rendered film. This is a beautiful film. The craft of filmmaking this. I hope you all, beyond all of the trivia and things we love, this is a love letter to this series, to the story. No one could have done it but you, and you did it so beautifully. I'm so proud of you, and so in awe of you, and everyone here. So thank you. And now it's your turn. Time to ask questions. How do we do this, Lucas? Everybody's just going to shout it out? Lucas, Disney, shout it out. Okay. Here we go. Man in the front. Yes, you. Here's the mic coming for you.
Hi everyone, Keri with Hollywood First Look Features. This message is for JJ and Chris. Being able to sit down and write a screenplay of this magnitude, I want to know what it was like when you guys realized that it was finished. Like you were done with the story. Like, I can only imagine what that would be like.
Is it finished?
Is it?
Well, we there was a moment in the process when JJ and I were agonizing over something in the third act, and we were in a room with Michelle Ridgwan and Kathy and JJ and I, and we couldn't seem to get it, and we went outside the room, and Rick Carter, the production designer, sort of legendary production designer, said, "I think the reason you and JJ can't write this scene is because you don't want Star Wars to end." And I looked at JJ, and we knew he was right, and then we had to go and write it. And then, of course, the movie is remade, on the set, and we made editing, and remade in scoring, and remade in all kinds of ways. So we kept rediscovering the story. But I have to say, it was I think both of us mourned the moment when we typed the characters' names for the last time. I mean, the moment of joy you have when you type, Lando, and type some words underneath Lando is something that is indescribable. But also the moment of sadness and longing when you type it for the last time is memorable.
What Chris said. I will only add that when I called Chris about asking if he would be willing to do this, and you screamed because you were such a Star Wars fan, which I had been told. I was such a fan of Chris's, had read a number of his screenplays, and Argo I thought was just so beautifully written, and I needed to have someone writing this with me who would, from the very beginning, remind me of how much Star Wars meant and hadn't been inside of it before the way I had. And I said to Chris at the very beginning, if you do this, you're going to be with me the whole time, to the very end. And Chris, being the humble man he is, made some self-deprecating joke about how I won't want him around that. And we were together throughout production, throughout post, in the trenches, with Michelle, with Kathy, kicking every tire, shaking every tree, doing everything we could to make sure that we were telling the best possible story we could. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for this gentleman's partnership on this movie.
Yeah. Right in the back. You, wait a minute. Yeah.
Thanks, Ava. This question is for JJ. Can you tell me about the process of integrating Carrie Fisher into the film and how you worked through the story and the footage you found from The Force Awakens and what that process was like, even emotionally, for you and everyone involved?
Yes, I, like everyone here who knew her, loved Keri. I knew her for a long time, not very well, but I knew her for a while before Force Awakens. And obviously, as we've discussed, the idea of continuing the story without Leia wasn't a possibility. and there was no way we were going to do a digital Leia. There was no way we would, of course, ever recast it. But we couldn't do it without her. And when we went back to look at the scenes that we hadn't used in Force Awakens, what we realized is we had an opportunity. And we could use that footage, use the lines that she was saying, use literally the lighting, that's amazing. Watch this. The lighting. That was creepy. Hi, Keri. That's so Keri, by the way, to do that. Really weird. In any event, we knew that we had an opportunity to use the footage to create scenes that Leia would be in. And, of course, had Keri been around, then it's still impossible for me to believe that, she isn't, because we've been editing with her for about a year, and she's been very much alive with us in every scene. And it ended up being something, if we had Keri around, would we have done some different things here and there? Of course we would have. But we had an opportunity to have Keri in the movie, and working with all the actors, including Billy Lord, her daughter, who's in scenes with her, we were able to, I think, do something that Keri herself, I'd like to think, would be happy with. She's great in the movie, of course, and it's still emotional and moving to think of her and how sad we all are that she's not sitting here with us today.
Yes. In the middle right there with the blue shirt, your second in there. Yeah, you, sir. Just stand up. Don't wait. You can do it. Yeah, you.
On the job.
Yeah, do it.
Thank you all for being here. And so this question for Daisy. Being a part of the Star Wars universe offers great opportunity for change and to be a force of good. What do you want your legacy on the Star Wars universe?
The question was, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh my God. That is deep. I think in itself to be part of something, like a lot of people in cinema are talking about representation and change and aren't doing it. So I think in itself being part of a team of people that look a little different, that are from different places, like in whatever form that is, gender, race, whatever it is, I think that in itself is a legacy to be proud of. Yeah, I think, and like JJ was saying, this is a film of hope. And I think we are reflective of the world at large. There are a lot of people up against magnificent forces that are fighting the good fight, and the characters aren't real, but what they're doing is perilous in cinema. So to be able to portray, even a tiny part of that in this crazy world is very special.
Nice answer to a hard question. Last question. Wow. Okay, someone's standing up and waving. There you go in the black, right there. Can we get a mic over? Mic friends? Thanks. Okay.
Congratulations on all the work that you guys have put in. My question is for John Boyega. I remember way back when you did Attack the Block and you had your first junket with like a press conference table. Like, how does it feel to have a global audience love you for this character and Finn and for this production, coming from where you came from as early on in your independent movies? Like, how do you carry yourself now with this global respect and love from the world?
No, just I think I'm not the only one in it, so it's cool to be able to share the load, I guess. I've been on this journey with Daisy really more than anyone else, just in terms of circumstance and understanding of culture. Well, pretty much there's a 100% understanding of our background and where we're from. And then while we were auditioning, obviously we were, I had more money than Daisy when we were auditioning. I think you had like £17.55 in your account. It was in minus too, so she was definitely going over the transaction limit. And we were just able to relate on that, even that kind of level where it's, most of the time actors have this kind of like kind of mystery about the personal things, we strip that bare, and I think that having this connection more than anything, like if I feel any type of way, or if I experience something that's weird, or if I'm at the store and I'm like, oh, I just saw something, I always just message Daisy, because I just know that that's somebody that would 100%, relate. And I guess this way has been my way of experiencing, the whole thing. But it's definitely also been a huge life change for all of us, and that in itself is exciting. I will say, and I said this when we wrapped up on our last day, that I really do genuinely respect JJ, because he's not on the bullshit. And for me, I mean that as in, when you come into this industry the way I did, the way Daisy did, you get a whole bunch of promises, a whole bunch of people telling you this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And JJ was like, yeah, you know what, we're going to get you in for something, man. And remember, you were coming out of the editing room with Tom Cruise. I didn't really know who JJ was, to be honest. I was like, I can't move this out, man. That's Tom Cruise right there. But I remember him saying that, I really liked you in the type of block, and we're gonna get you in something. And in my head I was thinking, man, cute guy, man. You know what I mean? I'll see you in 20 years, mate. You know what I mean? But Bad Robot, I went to audition there for several times before Star Wars, like on the TV shows that we were doing and other stuff. And it just so happens that Star Wars was what I was right for. But I appreciate you not being like the rest of this industry talking shit half the time. And I respect you for that. Yeah.
Well, he's definitely not like the rest of this industry. This is a singular word. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, everyone here. Thank you, Kathleen, for being the shepherd of this beautiful story. And thank you all for being here. Can't wait till you see it. You're gonna love it. Thank you.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.